We finally begin the new chapter of DifferentFights going into the G series. Welcome folks, at long last, you guys have had to go through the end of Legion ones and now it is time to start the G. So today we're going to be taking a look at, of course, the main character's deck, Chronojet. This deck will evolve a lot throughout the series, throughout all the support that it gets. We're going to be revisiting it multiple times as well throughout the course of the G era. And I'm assuming the next time that this gets support will probably be with Next Stage, which is one of the main strides of G as a whole. But of course, this is the set 1 build. Mine, of course, is basically the complete version, but I will tell you also what you can replace if you only have 2 GRs. Or 2 of the GR that people play as 4 of. So that way, even if you only open 2 boxes, you'll be able to complete the deck and play it on a competitive level. So anyway, let's just get into it and take a look at what the deck looks like. I'll explain all of my card choices and things that you can change and explore. There's really a lot of different ways you can approach the deck too, in terms of the grade 1 and grade 2 slots. I've seen a lot of people explore many different things, so don't be afraid to also try out many different things and see what works for you as well. Alright, so let's take a look at it. You guys can also enjoy all the new background music that we have in Zero right now, which is of course absolutely fantastic. So here's the deck list. Of course, this is the complete version, and so here we go. Of course, this is a bit of a different look compared to what you guys are used to in the past without going into G. So let's talk about it, right? First things first, we have the main grade 3, which is Chronojet Dragon. So Chronojet, of course, is the main avatar, I guess, of the G era. It's got the blaster blade of the G era, basically. So he has 2 skills, well, 3 skills actually in Zero. First things first, GB2, which means when you have 2 or more face-up G units in total between your G zone and your Vanguard circle. But of course, for him to have his GB2 on the Vanguard circle, you have to have them in the G zone. But GB2, when he attacks the Vanguard for that battle, gains plus 5,000 power. And when your opponent would Sentinel, they have to randomly discard a grade 3 or higher from their hand, or they cannot guard. Or rather, they cannot Sentinel, right? They can still heal guard against it, but they cannot Sentinel. And paired with all of the other effects in this deck that ask your opponent to guard with Sentinels, this is a really nice finisher actually that you can go for, so you don't actually have to stride to finish the game either. The second skill, which will be the most used one overall, is when you stride a G unit over him, you can counterblast 1, choose one of your opponent's rear guards, and put it to the bottom of the opponent's deck. So yes, this does clear your opponent's intercepts and also anything that has anti-retire skills but doesn't have resist, you can also target with this. So it's a really cool way to get around annoying cards on your opponent's board, and it's just a great stride skill overall. And finally, every single grade 3 nowadays has this, which is when placed on Vanguard circle for that turn, gain 3k. So all the main G era grade 3s have this skill. So that is Chronojet, right? That is Chronojet. As a backup grade 3, we run 1 copy of the Legion, because Legion is still nice sometimes, just to put back your heals and stuff. So Legions with the Steam Knight Pazurli, and when you Legion, you choose an opponent's rear guard, put it to the bottom of the deck. So basically the same as Chronojet's skill, but without counterblast. And then when he attacks the Vanguard, counterblast 1 for that battle, gain 3k power, and choose an opponent's grade 1 or lower rear guard and put it to the bottom of the deck. That skill isn't that great, but the on Legion, put something back, is pretty good because you can clear intercepts too. I don't really go into this card outside of when I really have 4 early heals or crits or something like that, so obviously there it's more worth it. Our other trigger lineup is of course we run 4 of the Chronojet crits, so this is the Doki Doki Worker. When your Vanguard attacks, if it is a grade 3 or higher Chronojet, you can put it into the soul, draw 1 card, and give your Vanguard plus 5k power. And when it is checked in the trigger zone for a damage check, you draw 1 card. So of course, these are critical triggers that are added from the G update for all of these main grade 3 units. And of course, they are restricted to that grade 3 unit. But of course, when you stride, you inherit that name, so they still work even if you stride. But it's a great way to fill up your soul and also cycle through your cards. Obviously, this does nothing in your hand, so it's best to just put into the soul, get that power up so you can dodge a heal guard and try to go into a PG instead. And overall, they're just really great to have. And finally, of course, we play 4 of the Heal Guardian. So it's a heal trigger, which is a grade 0 with 5k power, and it says in your hand, when your Vanguard would be hit, if you would lose if you don't guard, this will count as a 15k shield in your hand and be discarded. And it also says that if in the case that 1 would not be enough, it prioritizes PG. So normally this will be if your opponent hits you with a 21 on your 11, you'll just guard with this instead of guarding with the PG. But if they hit you with a 26, you will PG over using 2 of your heal guards. But if you don't have a PG in hand, you'll use 2 heal guards at the same time. They're really cool. Having more defensive options, as I always say, is fantastic and we love it. Then there's the Legion Mate, the Pazurli. It's actually a pretty good card. When it attacks the Vanguard and Rearguard circle, Soul Blast 1. For that battle, your opponent cannot guard with grade 0s. So you force PGs like that, which is really cool. We have another guard restrict, which is the Steam Maiden Ishin. She says GB1, so you have to have a face-up G unit. Once per turn, when your opponent's rearguard is returned to their deck by your card's ability, counterblast 1, and for that turn gain the following ability. When it attacks the Vanguard, for that battle, your opponent cannot guard with grade 0s. So that's 2 grade 2s we have that force our opponent to PG, and she has resist, which is really nice because Kagero is of course everywhere, and Gear Chronicle is also everywhere, so it's really nice to be able to not get that cleared from the front row. I actually played 4 of it before, but I put up the countercharger a little bit because this deck does counterblast a lot. As you'll notice, I play 7 counterchargers, and you can definitely decrease this for another copy of the resist card. This guy just says when he hits a Vanguard, countercharge 1. It's literally Bellicosity Dragon for Gear Chronicle, which I think is pretty cool. And then I also play 4 of the Glimmer Breath Dragon, and yes, in set 1 we have Glimmer Breath Dragon. In the TCG, this came out in set 4 in G, so it's definitely nice to have this early. I think it's part of the reason why Chronojet is so strong early here as well. And I don't play the grade 2 that says Counterblast 2, put something to the bottom of the deck, because I think it's just way too Counterblast expensive. So this guy says, when placed, if your Vanguard is a grade 3 or higher Chronojet, Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1, choose an opponent's rearguard, put it to the bottom of the deck, and for that turn this unit gains plus 2k power. A lesson for those of you that didn't play G: the Glimmer Breath Dragon actually named a whole series of cards after itself, which we call Glimmer Breath clones. So anything with a rearguard circle, GB1, unplaced, if your Vanguard is a grade 3 or higher, specific name, Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1, do a certain effect, and then gain plus 2k, that is a Glimmer Breath clone. Like anything with this sort of like type of text in its effect is a Glimmer Breath clone, and every clan eventually gets a Glimmer Breath clone. So Glimmer Breath, of course, is great. We play them as a 4 because these are best like a rearguard to put back stuff to the opponent's like bottom of the deck. But I do prioritize like a fair share of guard restricts as well as a fair share of countercharge. Speaking of countercharge, we have the Steam Fighter Mezhede. So he is GB1 once per turn. When your opponent's rearguard is returned to their deck by your card's ability, Soul Blast 1 and countercharge 1. This is really nice because, of course, if you have this on board before you stride with Chronojet, then you will be able to countercharge and pay for the cost of Chronojet and then refund it immediately, which gives you more cost for your strides and stuff like that. Then I played 2 GGs. You might be thinking, oh, that's so much Soul Blast. And yes, there is quite a lot of Soul Blast, but thanks to these crits, we actually get the Soul pretty easily, which is pretty good. And we only really commit to like this Soul like every so often, and like we commit to this Soul like every so often, so it's actually okay. I don't use GG that often, but it's nice to have as a 2 of. On play, Soul Blast 2, draw a card. You can replace it with the grade 1 that Soul Charges on place if you want to, but I personally find it to be fine. It's cool to like play down a GG and then use a Fate Rider to like take a grade 2 out of your deck instead. And then of course 4 of the countercharging PGs. So there's a new type of PG that is added to every clan, it like slowly but surely throughout G. So it says when your Vanguard would be hit, if you would lose if you don't guard, it works as a perfect guard in your hand, and then if you have another copy of itself in the drop zone when you guard with it, you countercharge 1. So countercharging PGs are added to every single clan, so you can look forward to that as well. Another thing that is added to every single clan is stride fodder grade 1s. So obviously in order to stride, you have to discard a grade 3 from your hand. What this guy says is in the hand, when you would pay for the stride cost, this card gains grade plus 2 in your hand, so is regarded as a grade 3. On top of that, when it's placed on rearguard circle, you can discard 1 and search your deck for a grade 3 Chronojet and add it to your hand. So this basically allows us to only play 5 grade 3s because this is essentially another 4 grade 3s in our deck, another 4 copies of Chronojet in our deck, and that is absolutely fantastic. I really like that they changed this effect to not be reveal a grade 3, but to just discard anything you want and then just search your deck for the grade 3 specifically that you need. The starter I play, there's 2 types. You can either run the grade 3 searcher or you can run the Gunner Gear Draco Kid, which is GB1, Counterblast 1, put it into the soul, and then search your deck for a grade 3 and add it to your hand. So you can only use this after you've like stridden once, but it basically gives you the stride cost for the next turn, and it also has the ability to not be retired by your opponent's effects. It can be still put to the bottom of the deck, it can still be attacked by brawlers, it doesn't have resist, but it's still a nice effect to have. And now for strides, which is of course, you know, the whole like toolbox aspect of G, right? We have several first stride options. If your opponent rushes you, go to Mystery Flare. Mystery Flare is actually really easy to pull off in Zero because of the grade ratios. When its attack hits a Vanguard, counterblast 4. Yes, 4. And if you do, reveal the top 3 cards of your deck, and if all of the 3 cards have different grades, you gain 1 extra turn. But if they're not, countercharge 4. So gaining an extra turn, of course, is pretty insane, right? Gaining 1 more turn after your current one is crazy because then you can stride again, use your skill again if you have counterblast because that's counterblast 4, and just in general usually win on that turn. So if it goes off, it's pretty good. But sometimes we don't have that much counterblast. Sometimes we have none, in which case Fate Rider is a great option. I only really need 1 of him. You can play 2 if you really want to, but he says once per turn, for no cost, you can choose one of your rearguards and put it to the bottom of the deck, and then search your deck for a card with grade +1 of the card you put back, and call it. And then for every face-up card in your G zone, you can choose one unit and give it plus 3k power. So as the first stride, you won't get the power up, but you can, for example, like call down a heal trigger or a critical trigger in your hand, put it back to the deck so you have a chance to check it, and then call yourself like the countercharger or the GG, or you can call it GG, use your skill to draw, and then use Fate Rider to call out an intercept, right? It's really, really nice. Overall, Fate Rider is just a really nice first stride, especially if you don't have much counterblast. I also like the going into Lost Stage sometimes, because he says when his attack hits a Vanguard, you can choose to put his rear guard and put it to the bottom of the deck. So of course he doesn't put back intercepts, but if your opponent has like a starter or an annoying grade 1 in the back, you can get rid of it. So I think for that reason, it's an okay option as well. And if your opponent has like no intercepts on the full board, Chronos Command is definitely the way as well. When his attack hits a Vanguard, Soul Blast 1, Counter Blast 2, choose all of your opponent's rear guards and put them to the bottom of the deck. This goes, you know, gets by resist and everything like that because it chooses all. And of course, you can't choose intercepts because you have to attack into them first. So if your opponent has like grade 3s and stuff in the front row, this is a really great option too. And then our main finisher is the Chronojet Dragon. Of course, Chronojet's own skill is also a good finisher. Chronojet says when he attacks the Vanguard, Counter Blast 1 and G Persona Blast, which is why I know some people will only have 2 copies, so which means you flip another copy of itself in the G zone face up. For that battle, your opponent cannot guard with grade 0, so they can only perfect guard, and then if you have 2 or more face up cards in the G zone, for that battle gain +1 critical and choose an opponent's rear guard and put it to the bottom of the deck. So the extra crit gain is really nice because it helps us to finish the game, and on top of that, bot decking your opponent's grade 1s is also just really, really sweet. So of course, this is, you know, I had to open 4 boxes to have 4 Ragnarok's, and of course a lot of people only have 2. If you only have 2, play an extra Mystery Flare. Some people even play 3, but you can definitely gamble on Mystery Flare sometimes to be your win con as well, because you can just go Mystery Flare into whatever after that to try to win. I would say you can play like 1 extra Mystery Flare, and if you've pulled a second Lost State like Fate Rider, play a second Fate Rider. If not, you could even play a Kree Elemental or just play more Mystery Flares. Honestly, like Mystery Flare is really something that people don't respect enough, and Japanese players are losing it over the fact that they keep losing to it actually working. So yeah, you don't, especially like Ragnarok right now is nice to have as a 4 of, but this will be decreased in the future. When Chrono Dragon next stage comes out in the future, we will not have space for 4 Ragnaroks anymore, so we will be reducing it to 2 for sure. So unless you really want to try hard and you love Gear Chronicle, don't go for 4 in my opinion. It is nice to have for now, but it's definitely not necessary. So that's my tip for, you know, like play an extra Mystery Flare. You can play an extra like Chronos Command, play an extra like Lost Stage. You don't need the 4 when it comes to the Ragnarok in my opinion, so just keep that in mind because it will be replaced and I don't want you guys to feel bad once it does get replaced. So anyway, we've taken quite a while to explain the deck because I guess this will be the new status quo. I think, you know, explaining G-era decks always takes longer because every single card in your deck is a piece, right? Whether it's a stride or a trigger or a like, you know, all of our grade 3s are things we want to ride now. They're not just like random beaters. All of our like triggers are things that have utility, whether it's like guarding or going to soul. You know, all of our grade 1s have utility. Every single card in your deck has a purpose, and that's what I love about G so much, is that everything, even your triggers, have skills and have a purpose in your deck, and that to me just feels so damn good. So let's go into this first game. Gonna be playing against Meteons from, looks like Thailand, I guess. It's gonna be a mirror match. You expect to see quite a few of these because, of course, people waited a year and a half to play Gear Chronicle. A lot of people's favorite clan is Gear Chronicle, and they've been waiting for it. So here you can see the opening hand. We definitely keep Chronojet, and hopefully we draw into another grade 1 so we don't have to like ride our stride fodder. We put the crits and the heals back because like if we draw them during the game, it's nice, but we don't really want them early to be honest, so definitely want to hold on to them. We're also going second, which means we can stride first, which is also really, really nice. So overall, looks like a good start, and our opponent's playing the same starter as us, which is also pretty nice to have, you know, just to kind of showcase. He rides the PG, which isn't actually that bad, because this means that you can Soul Blast it early, and therefore you basically get it in the drop zone already so that you can countercharge earlier too. So let's just ride our countercharger. You can also see the beautiful new animations when you ride and stuff, and the music and everything. Like, oh my god, it's just, the game's so beautiful now. Alright, let's just attack with 7. Don't really need to overdo it here or anything. Alright, so just like that, that's going to be the end of our opponent's, well, of our turn. Not really, like, this deck doesn't really do much in the early game in my opinion. You basically just want to be like riding up and slowly getting to your grade 3 turn. So yeah, slowly but surely, you're kind of just like accumulating damage on your opponent's side, and if your opponent rushes you, well, that's a good thing for you, right? Alright, so here, we can ride the Lost Stage, not the Lost Stage, the Glimmer Breath. Glimmer Breath is nice because we basically have, like, you know, we don't really need it later on, and I want to put this down as a resist to counter my opponent's Chronojet skill. We have first stride next turn, and I can put this down now to refund the Chronojet cost already. He might put it back if he has another copy of this grade 2, because this grade 2 doesn't actually have a GB1 on it, so you can actually use it without striding. Alright, he has a Preserly, and that's going to be it, so we're going to be just like damage trading a little bit here and there. Next turn we can also make some pretty nice columns, you know, with what we have. Alright. The beauty. I love the new animations. They look so much cleaner and much more crisp. Like when I compare them to stuff like Ganslot Zenith or like Mordred in the Limit Break era, those looked so weird for no reason. Like, why did they look so bad? You know, all the G1s so far just look so good. And yeah, this is one way you can use the new critical trigger. You can literally just attack with it for 11, and then it goes to your soul. We get a critical in defense though, so this will let us draw an extra card, which is really cool. We get a GG. This could be a first stride. This could be a first stride Fate Rider, actually. But I could also go into Lost Edge here, because that will allow me to basically like put 2 of his things back. Or we could go for Chronos Command. That's also an option here, so might actually do that here, to be honest. Chronos Command is actually a pretty good option, because we can like wipe out his back row. So let's ride Chronojet ourselves here. Kirihirake Segai! Puts a smile to my face somehow. I think this is actually a Chronos Command start, because we have 3 back rows that we can clear out, and we have a pretty good board on top of that too, so let's just go for the Chronos Command. Alright, so discard for stride, here comes the animation. Alright, we don't need to use Chronojet skill because we're going to put back his whole board with what we have here. I'll use the starter skill here because we can countercharge with the grade 2 that we just draw, just to get another grade 3 for stride cost next turn, so we kind of want to prepare for that already. And then we're going to call down you to get some nice countercharging going. We could technically use GG here as well, because we only need like, what, 1 soul for this? Yeah, we only need 1 soul blast. So I guess it's fine actually. Could have made my columns a bit different here. I want to push him to 4 and then basically like just hit him with the Chronos Command. So let's try. Let's see what this draws into. So, alright. Draw 1. Glimmer Breath is pretty good. Alright, let's see if he gets defensive or not, because that might turn off my countercharge. He does not. Okay, that's good. We can attack with the countercharger first, to actually get the countercharge in first, and then get the countercharge and go in with Chronos Command. So we check a crit, then the Chronos Command won't actually work. Alright, well, if we check a crit, he might just lose. So I guess that's fine. We whiff a heal, which is okay, but now we ask him for a PG. A heal guard is not enough. He will have a PG though, so I guess he will survive. Alright. That can happen, you know, you're on hits, strides, sometimes just run, you know, you crit and then you basically don't get to do the effect anymore, but you got a PG out of their hand, which is of course something to be happy about. Alright, so now he can stride Chronojet and put back my grade 2 here, but he can't put back this one, so he has to keep that in mind. And of course we have just the heal guard in hand, so we don't have any PGs yet, but next turn we have like double bot deck, which is really cool, so we can do Ragnarok and like 3 swings to the face, which is pretty good. He goes for the Lost Age, so he's probably going to clear out my countercharge grade 1 in the back, which I don't really care about because I have another one in hand. Alright, Chronojet going to take out my Interceptor there. Countercharger going to refund the cost. And I'm guessing he's going to use the starter here to search out a grade 3 for strike cost for next turn. Yep, that makes sense. That definitely makes sense. But yeah, how many of you guys started the Vanguard TCG with G? I'm really curious, because I felt like a lot of the Zero player base are people that played the game like way back when, right? Way back in the Break Ride era, or like, you know, back at the very start of the game. But I know a lot of players that still play the TCG to this day actually started with G, right? And so I'm very curious how many of you that actually is, you know, how big of my viewer population, I guess. So yeah, let me know in the comments if you started with G, especially if it was with Gear Chronicle. I'm extra curious about that. Alright, if he hits a crit, then we basically just... actually, this won't be enough for a heal guard. If he hits a crit, we just lose. So that might be a bit yikes. Ooh, heal draw. That's a really strong drive check. And the final check is a PG. Okay, so that's 2 PGs out of the game so far, so that's good news for us. We get a heal. We stay on 4. But we lose our whole board, which of course isn't the best, but it's okay, actually. It's quite fine. Alright, so we draw into another Chronojet. Alright, so I guess we can just go for Ragna. With Ragna, I guess we're fine, or we could be spicy and try to Mystery Flare him as well, but I feel like Ragna is safer. Especially because 3 PGs are gone. 3 PGs are gone, so he might not have one anymore. Well, the thing is, this will I'm thinking. I think Ragna is correct. As much as I want a mystery flare here, I think Ragnarok is the choice. So let's go for it. Here we go. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Alright, I'm thinking we can bot deck this. I think we bot deck this. We don't have much soul, which is kind of concerning. I'm thinking in terms of attacks too. It's a little bit rough here. Not sure if I want to even use this guy, to be honest. So I think we can make a column of the countercharger and this. We only have one soul, so I'm not sure if I even want to bot deck anything on my opponent's side of the field because I want to put triggers back to his deck. So I think I'll leave it as it is here, and then we will call this as a board. So we're giving up our Chronojet, but we can get another soul at least from the crit. He gets a crit himself, which is kind of nasty, but that's a draw I'm willing to give up. Alright, then we attack with this. We use the critical first to give ourselves plus 5k power and a draw. We draw into that. That's pretty good, actually. That's pretty good. We get an intercept for next turn, too. This puts us to 31 with the G Persona flip, and we can put back his countercharger to the bottom of the deck, which will proc our countercharger, which lets me refund the cost immediately, which is pretty good. So with this now, let's see, we get... PG. The PGs. The PGs are going away everywhere. Does he have a crit? I mean, does he have a PG? He does not, but he could still heal here. He could still heal. That's a Stride Fodder, followed by a PG. Alright, that's going to be game 1. Finish with Ragnarok in style. Looks good. We read the PGs basically quite well, that they were mostly gone, so that was a pretty clean game, I would say. I'm also starting to realize why maybe some of my, like, zero gameplay might look a little laggy, is because I've started to record these Dragon fights in 60 FPS, because obviously you can see in my hand movement it looks a lot smoother in 60 FPS, but the game itself is not 60 FPS, so it kind of doesn't make sense, right? So maybe I should just go back to 30. I don't know. Let me know in the comments. Do you guys prefer 60 FPS but it seems to make my BlueStacks a little bit laggy, or do you want it in 30 FPS and then I guess it doesn't change anything for gameplay wise, and most of you are looking at the game anyway rather than me, right? So yeah, look at me, I'm already level 5. It's only been a week since G came out, my clan level's already at 5. I've really been playing this deck a lot. I've been trying to play Alt Mile, but it's not been doing too well. Blademaster and the Cross especially are really, really good. Blademaster is surprisingly good too, but the Cross is really strong. Like, I finally updated my the Cross build a little bit and it feels a lot better now, but ooh, it feels good. Ooh, Royal Paladin, okay. It's Battle Dome! It's Battle Dome. Oh no. Oh no, it's Mr. Battle Dome. Alright, so Battle Dome is a player that's been at the top. He's been at the top for quite a few times now. How do we mulligan here? I think we can put 1 PG back. I think 1 PG in hand is more than enough for now. We need to, like, draw into another Stride Fodder. That's right, because we might have to use one of them to search for the Chronojet. We're going second. He's playing Alt Mile as well, which is definitely very nice. Alright. And, like, he could be playing, like, not everyone plays Alt Mile. Some people play, like, Jewel Knights with the new Stride. Some people play, like, you know, like, still play Seekers and stuff like that as well. So it doesn't necessarily have to be Alt Mile here. Alright. We won't use the Stride Fodder to search Chronojet just yet. I'll wait for next turn. I swear to god, if he rushes me... Because he is the one who, on Twitter, very frequently likes to record how often his opponents get Mystery Flare. So if we get it, I'm gonna feel kind of bad. So I hope we don't. Oh, actually, no, I hope we do. But I feel bad if he goes through trauma because of that, you know? Alright, he's using the Violinist in order to search for the Twin Sword, just to get that early rush. It's pretty strong, actually, when you think about it. We get a Chronojet and damage, another Stride Fodder, though. That's pretty good. Alright, not complaining, not complaining. Okay, that doesn't hit. We just take 1 damage. So, here, I think we can ride the thingy-majig, the countercharger. I think that's fine. I think that's fine. We can just ride that. I'm thinking what I want to discard for the Stride Fodder here, though. Might be the Glimmer Breath, to be honest. Because I'm going to call the other grade 2 anyway down here. So we're going to drop the Glimmer Breath for now and search out the Chronojet. So, hello, Mr. Chronojet. And then we're going to basically just call this down as well and just bash. Because, of course, early intercepts are kind of annoying and you want to keep the damage push, like, quite gradual, I guess. You know, not to get overwhelmed. Oh, this is actually Jewel Knight Alt Mile. So it's like Jewel Knights with the, like, generic... Because all of the Alt Mile support is super generic. Okay, it is Jewel Alt Mile. That's actually really interesting. I wonder how many of the Jewel Knight Legion he plays. Maybe it's just 1. Like, I'm playing, like, one of the Gears Legion as well, just to, like, you know, put back stuff that is stuck in the drop zone. So, let's see. He doesn't get the Stride yet, but he can definitely rush me down if he has, like, I don't know, like, another Violinist to call, like, a whatever, to be honest. Oh, it's gonna be double of the fragment. Okay, Knight of Fragment 2 times. That's fine. We go to 2, so now we're in heal range at least, so that's good. He gets a Spirit, so confirm that he plays a Spirit, and a PG to the bottom. Let's keep that in mind. 1 PG is gone. We get a defensive crit, so that's gonna give us a draw. I'm thinking what I want to put back. I'm thinking what I want to play down here in order to... for the first stride. I feel like Fate Rider might be it. Because we can convert the Stride Fodder into a... we can convert that into essentially a grade 2, which we don't have enough of in hand right now. Alright. God, takes me back. I don't know, man. I didn't love G as much as I thought I would. Alright, let's go into Fate Rider. Stride. So that's another stride we haven't shown you yet, I guess. Alright. I feel like I might make a video at some point, just like, or like do a stream and make that into a video of me just trying to hit Mystery Flare non-stop. I feel like that'd be a pretty fun stream. Alright, let's use Chronojet skill to put back the Intercept to the bottom of the deck. Then, I'm thinking we will... I'm thinking which grade 2 we want to take. I feel like we take the Glimmer Breath, maybe? He doesn't have to be placed from hand, right? He's one placed from anywhere. So yeah, let's use this skill to take the Glimmer Breath from our deck. I think that works quite fine. So that's going to be a Counter Blast, but we don't really mind. This will put back the other intercepts. We can bash face 3 times, which is of course something we want to have. So that's quite good. We can also countercharge, which is also quite good. We're getting a lot of nice effects going. Alright, we put down the Guard Restrict / Intercept / Resist card. Right? Why did I say Intercept? We already have enough Stride Fodder, so I don't really want to use a starter for now, so I think we can just bash with this. We'll go ahead with this. Gets the defensive, that's okay, because I want to actually proc my heals here. We get a crit, which is pretty good. Alright, that might push him to 5, which is also very nice. We get a heal too! Uh-oh, he's emoting. I'll hit it with the Nani just to feel some compassion. Multiple Jewel Knight Legions. Okay, this is only 26, so we're gonna pass on it. So that's fine. We're gonna destride. Fate Rider did its job by giving us multiple intercepts. We're at 2 damage. We have 2 Stride Fodders, 2 PGs in hand. Okay, we're doing pretty good, but we gave him a lot of counterblasts, which means he can do, like, if Battle Dome is good at combos with this deck, then he can definitely do some nasty stuff, because this deck has a lot of combo potentials, like Twin Sword, Gabblade. He might Samuel me too. He's going for Gabblade. Okay, Gabblade is basically like an on-hit to call out grade 2, and then Knight of Twin Sword is the same when it's boosted and attacks the Vanguard. But I want to see him have a Blaster, like, basically call down a back row here, buff it up, use a starter to call down a Blaster Blade Spirit to kill my Intercept. Sword Me is something I've really been considering. I've been really considering playing, like, alt-mile Jewel Knights because I feel like it might be the best list. So this is, like, a really interesting, like, tech that I'm getting, because you call down the Sword Me, who calls your grade 1, which you can then, like, you can call down the Cymbalin to, like, buff up your board. This is, like, the return of the, like, Jewel Knight Sanctuary Guard deck, kind of, because we don't have Sanctuary Guard Regalia yet. But, man, we do need him to... Let's see what he calls here. Call the Cymbalin, that's quite good, because you can use that to buff up, but actually you need a lot of Jewel Knight Rearguard, so I guess you just call it down as a booster for the sake of it. So I guess here he's going to use a starter to call down a Knight of Twin Sword, or a Blaster Blade Spirit, maybe? Because then if he calls down the Spirit, he can, like, kill my Glimmer, then swing into my rear unboosted, and then swing with the Sword Me unboosted, and then swing with this. This will call over the Sword Me with... He could actually call something like a Violinist, which then calls the Knight of Twin Sword, and then the Knight of... He can attack with the... He can attack with the Violinist, which then calls another... Like, and then you can attack with the Twin Sword to overcall that, but I feel like he might not have enough CB or enough timer. He's gonna use... Yeah, that's not enough CB, you need like 2 CB for that, so never mind. You can attack with the Blaster Blade Spirit here unboosted, and then attack with the Sword Me unboosted. Yep, I like this line of play a lot. This is really good. So here, he can basically attack with this, give the power to one of the boosters, and then call a Knight of Twin Sword behind, like, basically in front of one of the big boosters. Okay, he gets a Knight of Twin Sword. Another draw trigger. I feel like he put that on the one with just 7k power. Yes! Oh, he has a really good combo potential here. This is looking really good. We get a defensive, which isn't going to pop. We get to 26, though. He can now call a Knight of Twin Sword to the one with the 17k boost, because that will actually get over. That's exactly 26. And... oh, he's going to call Sword Me. That's pretty good, too, actually. He doesn't need Knight of Twin Sword. He can just call down a Sword Me, too. That was a really nice turn. That was really beautifully played. Honestly, he pushed me to 5 just like that. Alright, well... It's time for us to clap back as well. Let's go into... We're not going to go into any on-hits, so I guess we just have Ragnarok. When your point's at 5, you only really have Ragnarok as an option, so you don't really have many other options. So I'll just drop the Strike Fodder here to go into Mr. Ragnarok. It'd be nice to have the Glimmer Breath here too. This is kind of the situation where like the second Fate Rider is kind of cool because you can tech for specific things, but I think it's fine. So we're going to put back the Sword Me. We don't really need to refund the cost or anything, so I think we could just leave it as it is. And then we can use the starter here to search out another attacker, basically. So use the skill. I'll search out the Legion in case I want to put it back. How's my drop zone looking? My drop zone is looking pretty empty for the time being, but I guess it doesn't hurt to search the Legion for now, so let's just do that. Alright, search out the Legion. And then basically we can just drop the Chronojet here and just bash with it. And then what's cool is that we will have double Guard Restrict here because Ragnarok bot decks something on the opponent's side of the board when you use its skill. And then you basically get to... Alright, it's gonna just choose randomly, or let me choose? It's gonna let me choose, okay. And then this procs the counter charge, but also it procs the grade 2, which now has grade 0 Guard Restrict. So that's also pretty cool. We force out 2 PGs in one turn, which is really nice. And we can use the grade 1 here to counter charge to go back to 2 face-up damage, which is really sick. We have triple PG in hand as well, which means that we can actually like guard ourselves pretty well. Okay, not fully blank checks, but 3 crit Ragnarok coming in. Will get PG though. Does he have another one in the drop zone? He does not. Let's see if he has a second copy. Alright, Guard Restrict. He does have the second PG, so he's gonna go up to 2 face-up counter blast. This is a really good game. This game is looking... it feels really good to play. This is what I mean, like, G gameplay is peak. Do you see how every single card in your deck is a tool? Everything has a function. Everything has a use in your deck list. And games are longer too. Like Legion games felt long because they were sacky. G games feel long because they are all over the place, right? They are all over the place. There's so many things going on. It's back and forth, back and forth. You have so many toolbox options in your G zone. This is why I love G. This is why this is my favorite era in the history of the card game. He's going to go into Saint Blow, which is really strong because this gives his front row rear guards retire protection, but of course we don't care about that because we are Gear Chronicle, right? We don't care about retire protection when we put things at the bottom of the deck. Oh, so heated, man. Alright, so we can basically bash face twice. He doesn't have any guard restricts though. That's the thing with Saint Blow, is that he gets power and crit and the protection, but he doesn't actually have guard restrict, so we're quite okay in that sense. He's gonna Persona Flip, get the power up and the crit and the protection. Let's see if he gets a heal here. That'll be really big for him. Second check, nothing. Third check is gonna be PG. That is very important information. I think he had a PG go to the bottom earlier, but he did shuffle the deck through Sword Me, so that might not be the case anymore now. Okay, GG. GG we don't really need. And I feel like going into Ragnarok is better here than going for this. Because what would we put back? I guess we have some triggers, but honestly, I kind of want to just go for Ragnarok, to be honest. Kind of just want to go for Ragnarok. I think Ragnar's still the best option, so I guess you get to see the one time, you know, one of the few times where having the full Ragnaroks is good, but there you had a lot of options. Like, you could stay on Chronojet and use the GB2, you could also just Legion and put back one of the front rows there as well. Like, you had a lot of different options there, so please do keep that in mind. You know, it's very important that you keep that in mind. Alright, we'll put back his grade 2 here, which is perfectly fine, and then we're going to just call down the crit. It's going to be a bit of a poverty field, but, you know, we try what we can. We try what we can, we do what we can. Heal Guardian comes through. Of course, he didn't have one there. Alright, then we can use the critical here to power up our Ragnarok even more. I feel like he doesn't have any more PGs left, so this should be able to finish it and decide the game. Alright, let's put back the 10k attacker here. Use the countercharger to stay at 2 open CB as well. That's how we use the Soul Baby. The countercharger is honestly just super good. Alright, second check, third check, nothing there. Does he have a PG? He does not, so it's going to be 2 damage to the face. Does he have a double heal to survive this, or will this be it? That is going to be it. Thank you so much to Battle Dome for the match. That was very, very nice, and also to be able to play against someone so high profile on a DifferentFight is also very much appreciated. So, 対戦ありがとうございました。Alright, so that is Gears. That is Gear Chronicle in a nutshell. I think I got to show off most of the strides. Obviously, like in these DifferentFights, I will be able to show off like every single stride in the entire lineup. We finish off on a very nice point total as well. But yeah, like obviously every stride has a function depending on the situation that you're put into and the kind of game plan that you're going for. And it is overall just, it feels really good. It feels really good. That's all I can really tell you, right? It's just, the game feels good to play. The game is good because it's fun, you know? That's just how I feel about G, and so you can probably expect the same level of passion when I talk about the future decks going into the Decken fights. Of course, Altmal has been not very friendly to me, so we'll see how that one goes, but once again, here's the deck list. If you don't have 4 Ragnarocks, no big deal, like, play more Mystery Flares. If you pull the second Fate Rider, play it for now, because you will not be going into Ragnarok that much once the other strides come out, and I don't want you guys like investing into cards that you won't be able to use in the long term. So do keep that in mind, unless again you're like a super try-hard playing in tournaments or you are a big Gear Chronicle fan. But anyway, that's gonna be it for this Decken fight. It was just 2 games, but look at how long it was, right? If you liked the video, please do give it a like, and if you like the content, if you haven't already, please do also subscribe, because I do appreciate that very much. But otherwise, that's gonna be it for me today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.